Thanks for joining us today on Envision. I'm Deanne Conrad, Dr. Brian Maher. We are coming up on the end of the legislative session. Of course, that's something we always pay very close attention to. We monitor and track the bills that are coming through. Can you summarize the session for us this year?
Yeah, I was going to say much ado about nothing, but that would be inaccurate. But honestly, from a school perspective, I think there are a lot of things that didn't happen that we were fearful of. And there's one thing we're still kind of waiting on the end to see, what's the funding going to look like. We knew going into the session that the funding didn't look good.
Right.
And now at the very end here, we're talking about maybe there's going to be a little bit of money, I don't know. But here's what I do know. Times are going to be tight again from a funding perspective. But the good news is Governor Dugard let us know that right away.
Right. Heading into it, we knew initially they said 0%, and so we've been working on the budget actually since last November. But our decision making in terms of what can be in the budget and what needs to come out of the budget, that initial at least approval of the budget is in early April. So there's just a small window of time between the end of the legislative session and when we really need to march forward with our next year's budget.
Right. We'll do a real deep dive there. I think it's in the first week in April at a work session. And that work session will be kind of what we see as the culminating efforts of the governor and the legislative bodies and the amount of money that we have to work with. So that's all coming to fruition here at the end as well. One thing I would say about the legislative, the whole sausage making process that is legislation. I had an opportunity to reach out to a number of senators and representatives from Sioux Falls this year. Not one time did I have anybody not respond to me. There were also a couple of times where I had senators, representatives reach out to me directly. We didn't even necessarily agree on a topic, but just to be able to have that voice was very much appreciated. And I know when folks go to peer and you talk about the body, you forget that body is made up by our neighbors here in Sioux Falls. And by and large, I think we have folks who really care about the city of Sioux Falls, and most who care deeply also about the Sioux Falls School District.
Wonderful. So those components all come together. The legislative session will end. We'll figure out budgets, and the cycle will start all over again.
It's kind of like, it's like the budget. It's never ending. It's just cyclical.
Exactly. So in summary, of course, you can find on our website all of the position statements that the Sioux Falls School District has taken regarding bills that are out there. Either we're writing narrations of support, opposition, or remaining neutral. And it really is a document that's a good read if you're interested in legislation at all. Where does the Sioux Falls School District stand on this and why? And it's all out there for our public to see.
And it's something that I think you can look at and see, boy, they spend a lot of time on that. I don't know that there's a day that goes by in the legislative session and many days outside the legislative session where we're not having some conversations in the central office about topics that they're either getting ready to debate or maybe have recently debated in peer.
Yeah. Well, it definitely does impact all of us as members and citizens of South Dakota. Thanks for joining us today on Envision.